Hi, I'm Tim Kurkoski. I'm a senior quality engineer and brewmaster on the After Effects team at Adobe. Today we're talking about design, graphics, and the art of motion with Robert Hranitzky, Sergei Prokhnevskiy, I'm so sorry, and Nick Lyons. Robert, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Robert, and I work as a motion graphics designer in Munich, Germany. I try to do a lot of 3D stuff, a lot of 2D stuff, but generally just anything that just whatever makes the client happy and also feeds my creative inner and you know, kind of gives me the satisfaction to create beautiful images. So whatever it is, that's what I use, using mainly After Effects and Cinema 4D.
Yeah. Great, let's take a look at your reel. Awesome stuff.
Thank you.
Sergei?
Well, my name is Sergei, and I am the co-founder of Ukramedia.com. It's a website where we teach people, mainly After Effects at the moment, but we also have podcasts, we have products like scripts and courses on expressions and stuff like that. But I do have a twin brother, he runs it with me, he does the podcast side of it. And before that, I am still a motion designer. I've worked for Fox Sports, I was a senior motion graphic designer. And I think that's what you guys have, some of my work that I worked with the team at Fox Sports.
Cool, let's take a look.
Beautiful night for baseball.
The throw, and he's out.
This rivalry, one of the best in sports. What a game, what a night.
Fly ball, Braves win. 3 walks him off in the bottom of the 9th inning.
It is gone. What a start. Here's one launched. It is gone.
That ball was torched. My goodness.
He has got another Conforto. During the postseason, this guy can light up a radar gun. Back at the wall, it's gone. This guy's been unbelievable.
Big fella.
He got him. That's how this comes to a close. World Series on Fox. The Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Indians. He has walked to the center of the stage here in October. What a series this is going to be. Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch this thing unfold. That's strike 3. Back at the wall, it is gone. Dexter Fowler in Game 7. 1-0 Chicago. Drive into left. Let's go. Tie game. Jay Davis. 6-6. This is when the game of baseball is at its best. The Cubs win the World Series!
Well, play ball.
That's right.
Nick, what do we need to know about you?
So my name's Nick Lyons, and I'm a senior motion designer at Territory Studio in London. And we work on a wide range of different projects, ranging from films to a lot of user interface work and installation, coding. Kind of runs the full gamut, but I think what we're mostly known for is the film work that we do. And I think that's kind of the work that I'm here to talk about today and to show on the reel. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look.
Great.
Fun stuff.
Good job, man.
So one of the things I always enjoy asking when I meet After Effects artists is, what was your first version of After Effects? How long have you been designing motion graphics?
After Effects 4.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a while back.
About 20 years?
No, I think it's 18 or something. Right? 4.1. Was it 4.1 actually?
Yeah, I think that was around 1999, 2000.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to go check the history book.
Started at a trade show. A friend of mine, Steve Holmes, was demoing there for Adobe, and he actually was showing stuff live that for me was only possible in studios and in movies, like flying spaceships and explosions. And I grew up watching movies like Star Wars and everything, so kid of the 80s. And I saw that on stage on a normal Mac back then, and I was like, how is that possible? It's magical. I need to learn the software, and that's when I started with After Effects.
Yeah, cool. Sergei?
Well, actually, I don't remember. I think it was around 2001, 2002. So
Okay.
what would that be?
5.0 or 5.5.
Yeah, and that was like my first time in the computer. Like I didn't own a computer before then, and that was like I was learning English and After Effects at the same time, and it was a great journey. I enjoyed it. For sure.
What was more difficult, After Effects or English?
I think English. After Effects is common sense. I mean, you gotta.
It makes sense, yeah.
Well, it would help if you know English, because if you know English, then you can read the manual. But
Right.
if you don't,
Who reads the manual anyway?
I do. Yeah, I do actually.
You had to back then. I mean, you didn't have a chance to really like
That's true.
watch as many tutorials.
Yeah, well, back then, internet was not as fast as it is today, so.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah, but I began working in motion graphics in 2010.
Okay.
So, what would that have been like?
CS4-ish?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Maybe CS5?
Yeah, that was kind of my first foray into motion graphics was through
Yeah.
After Effects, and yeah, I loved the Puppet tool. That was like the first day
Puppet
I
tool.
learned about the Puppet tool and watching Linda tutorials. I was like, this is amazing, life changing, and yeah, it was an incredible time.
Yeah. So another thing that I really enjoy about meeting with real-world artists is understanding why you do it. What's your passion? What's your drive to create? Nick?
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's interesting. I really enjoy coming into work every day and just coming up with solutions. Like I think design and animation is all about problem solving, and at the heart of it, you're trying to solve someone's problem and make it as beautiful and as kind of like effortless as possible. And I think that like, and you come in and you feed off of each other, like the people that you work with, you show your work and you're like, oh, it's amazing. And you push your work further. And I think it's just kind of like this problem solving kind of bubble that we're in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, keep in mind, I learned After Effects as I was learning English, and I learned After Effects before I learned English, and because of that, it gave me a voice to express myself. So it was something that I used, I would create something and then people would say, wow, that looks really cool, and I couldn't communicate with them, but that was a tool for me to communicate, and it kind of crossed over to like motion graphics, and then you get the same vibe from the clients and from the coworkers. So it was like a communication tool for me, and again, the same thing, problem-solving stuff, and it still is today, actually.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I must say I second all the things that Nick and Sergei said, honestly, because it's as they say, it's a tool to communicate ideas. But for me, there was also creating worlds and kind of escaping reality and like I said in the beginning, watching movies like Star Wars and seeing things where you go like as a kid, oh my God, looks so real.
Yeah.
How was this done? And I want to do that as well.
There's a lot of inspiration for our generation.
Absolutely, and then but I started with drawing and going from drawing to graphic design, InDesign, and page layout, and then to web, and there moves something. Keyframes interesting, and then you add sound to it, and you go like you have a whole other dimension of storytelling, and that's what drives them really, just to create something in like an empty canvas, and all of a sudden you have something that moves and lives and kind of like a Frankenstein thing, Like
totally.
create something and all of a sudden it's there, and there was nothing a week ago or 2 weeks ago or a month ago.
There's no better feeling than once you fill the empty canvas and you see it and you're like, oh, it's amazing. It's like such like a good feeling, like when you've accomplished that,
But also paired with the anxiety and the quite bad feeling when you have like this empty canvas and you're like, oh, what the hell am I gonna do?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, how do I pull this off?
Yeah, it's exciting and scary at the same time. Yeah, for sure.
But I'm glad that you have the same feeling.
Dude, all the time. I think we all do.
After seeing your reel, I was like, oh my God.
I work with a talented group of guys, and everyone feels that way. It feels like an industry. There's kind of that anxiety before you create something. But then
You're always nervous at first.
Yes.
And then you feel better, and then you get nervous again, and then it's definitely fun. It's an awesome process.
So for the audience that's watching us live, we are taking questions from the live stream, so feel free to ask them there, and my good friend Michelle is sitting behind the camera and will relay them to us. Sergei, you left a pretty high-profile company at Fox doing graphics that are seen weekly, daily even, by millions and millions of people. And you dropped that to start a YouTube channel. What made you decide to do that? That's a pretty big leap.
Yeah, and it wasn't, I just want to make sure it's clear, it wasn't because Fox was a terrible place to work. It was unbelievable, probably the best place I've ever worked. It just ran really well. But I just had a passion for teaching people. Like, I enjoyed communicating with people. I enjoyed having that relationship. And I came to a point where I had to let go one because I have children, it just took too much of my time, and I didn't want to check out of this world without trying that. I went to see, I've done Fox Sports for 3 years. It's been a lot of fun, and I knew that if I wouldn't go and take that road now, it probably would never happen. I'm not getting any younger, so I just wanted to explore that. And boy, has it been a journey, just stepping out on your own. And I did it with my twin brother, Vladimir, so I felt like I wasn't alone. But I think it's probably the best thing I've done so far. I love the people I meet, the emails I get from people, how useful it was. Even like yesterday here at the IBC, one of the guys, the German guys who were doing the presentation, and afterwards one guy came up to me and he said, like, I love your tutorials. And here I am, like, admiring their work, and I was like, whoa, like, I feel like I'm a part of you now. This is so awesome. Like, I got some kind of influence there. So yeah, I enjoy that aspect, and that's why I left, because I want to explore being around people and helping. So yeah, that's what I love.
Yeah, sense of community is strong, I think, in this industry, and it's one of the reasons why I enjoy it so much, and get to sit here with awesome people.
Yeah. It's actually, I think it's a sorry if I
go ahead.
You.
No.
You just triggered a great thought, because like what you said, it kind of had flashbacks, and then when you said, like, in the beginning you couldn't really watch tutorials, like that was the same for me, obviously. In the 99, 2000 years, there was no YouTube or anything where you could just have hundreds of thousands of great free tutorials to learn from. But at the same time, looking at it right now, how the community grew, and not just product-wise, like plugins and everything, which is great as well, but also like this whole community in terms of feedbacking projects and helping and having tutorials, free or paid. It's just crazy how fast you can learn things now, and I think it's great to be in this community.
Yeah, it's a very like giving industry, which is nice because I feel like, you know, in a creative industry, it can be it's very competitive. But when you have people out there that are willing to share their skills and kind of their experience, that's really invaluable. And I'm totally like behind you on that, because I feel like teaching other people only makes it easier for you in the long run as well, especially if you're working with people. And it kind of gives back and creates a very positive atmosphere too. So.
The other thing I would mention, like teaching, and I'm sure you know this, there's this like a law almost. When you give away, more comes to you. And I remember the first tutorial I ever done, it was terrible. And that's all I had. I had nothing else. However, like as you give, then feedback comes in. People are like, oh cool, how do you do this? And it just creates this awesome process, and like relationships are being formed. And in general, you gain more knowledge, because when you prepare for a lesson, I'm sure you guys know, you have to dive deep into it and study it, and you know the subject so well. And that to me, I mean, in a way, yeah, I wanted to help others, but there was also that selfish aspect of it to where I learned a lot more from it than they did.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So I love
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Hashtag MoGraph Karma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good one.
Nice.
That's a good one.
Nick, you do screen design for some really big projects. We talked about inspiration just a little bit, but what kind of inspiration do you get for these sort of complicated sci-fi user interface type things? And what's the process of actually putting that onto the screen? What's your process for screen design?
I think, I mean, it depends on the film that we're working on generally, but I think like with something like Blade Runner, you look at that as it's a film that had such a tremendous impact when it came out, the original one, that you almost want to pay homage to the original film and have kind of that gritty analog feel to it. There's still like a very like specific style that they all need to have, like certain information they need to communicate. And I think the inspiration we usually find is, I mean, we all love films. We all love like sci-fi films and kind of like the emergence of technology over the past, like, I mean, it's crazy now, the past like 20 years, how far technology's gone, but we're inspired by like stuff like that. I mean, just interface at the very like center of things. And I know our interfaces that we create aren't necessarily like, they're futuristic, so they're not necessarily friendly for someone to use in real life, but the basis of creating them is to help them make sense of this world that we're making and kind of give it some sort of like technical feel, you know, like it feels like very like over the top and overly technical.
Right.
So, yeah.
Has there been any influence of like retro future type stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've done, we definitely kind of, we pull from a lot of different angles. I'd say that we're all big fans of 2001 Space Odyssey. I mean, it's like Star Wars, obviously. We all grew up on those things. Yeah. So when we have a chance to do something that's kind of retro futuristic, it's really exciting because obviously the stuff that we're doing now is interesting, and when you're kind of like trying to push the style and push like where the trends are going. But when you're looking back and trying to recreate something before that was created in a very analog way without all these digital tools, it takes a lot of work. You know, you're trying to make stuff like gritty looking and make it look a bit like muddy and stuff. And I think, I mean, we're influenced by everything really. Like we try to be, and that hopefully pushes the design. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Nick, Robert, you get to work on a wide variety of projects. The lot of possible influences. What makes you choose what you choose to work on? What's your favorite type of project?
That's a good question. My favorite type of project is certainly the one where there's a lot of creative freedom. It's a mix of commercial work. I do a lot of product trailers, visualization of this product, that product, and luckily, thankfully, I'm able to do most projects for stuff that I really like. And I have good relations with Wacom, for example, so I've been using Wacom products for, 20 years. and they asked me to do trailers. So I know those things inside out. So I wanted to make the trailers good because I just want to scream out, hey, this is great, use it. And for example, there's also an ethos of not doing commercials for tobacco, for example, or military or whatever. So I try to keep to that, but also at the same time, if there's a project that has a creative challenge, or if it's a film, for example, like previously wrapped up working on a feature film, which was great because it was UI stuff, not as fancy as Nick's stuff, but it didn't have to be. It had to be like super realistic, like what a existing UI looks like right now, and that is great because then I could just dive into that, do a lot of research, and didn't have to worry about is this realistic or not, because it's fantasy at the end. So that was great. That's cool. And also opening titles, maybe that's the third thing I would say, because opening titles is like a film in itself, right? So it can have a whole narrative. I have a strong design background, so I love typography. I love designing with shapes and everything. At the same time, I love visual effects. So it's kind of like, how can you combine those things? And I think opening titles is one area where you can have all these things come together. So you have like this mini film, you have a little bit of typography, you have a little bit of effects. So everything comes together. So ultimately, that's what I would like to do more in that way. Right.
Nice. So you touched on it a little bit, and you kind of directly almost cribbed from my notes, which I know you haven't seen.
Okay, yeah.
But the next question I wanted to ask is about problem solving. That's actually one of the most satisfying aspects of my job working on After Effects from the standpoint of building it, is solving problems, creating tools for people to be creative. And I was curious about your approach to problem solving and whether you enjoy that and whether you find it more satisfying to be solving technical problems or creative problems.
I can start. I love technical problems. I'm into expressions, and just in general, I love rigging stuff. And to me, it's always like that way is my way of doing it. I love taking something and adding automated elements, and just that's the path I like to take a lot of times. But yeah, problem solving can be interesting. Different aspect, different situation brings different curveballs at you. But at the end, though, it's very rewarding when you're done with it. So
yeah, I think I generally enjoy the creative problem solving the most. When the technical limitations come into play, it is very satisfying to figure it out at the very end. But there's like this moment of like, I really want to do this. I need to figure out how I can do that. And then I think there's a lot of research involved. It depends like what program we're using. But yeah, I would say the creative problem solving is my favorite, but the technical side is something that I do enjoy to a degree. But I think that's what we have to do anyway when we're working with the computer. Sometimes things work really well and sometimes they don't. And I think since we've been starting working in this industry, the tools have gotten better and better, so we don't have to technically problem solve as much anymore.
But there's a big difference between technical and creative. Technical is, there are more strict rules. There's less freedom. Like with creative, it can be a bit stressful sometimes because, art in general is so subjective in a lot of ways. What one person thinks is awesome, another person is not. And to me, sometimes that can be stressful because everyone's high-fiving, you show it to a client, they're like, this is terrible.
Make the logo bigger.
Yeah, make the logo bigger. So that's why I don't enjoy it particularly a lot of times when I do client work. I mean, I do it, and I'm sure I do it well, but the technical side I like because I have full control, and that to me is more rewarding, and I like control. That's my thing.
All right.
Yeah.
For me, it's also as with Nick, because I'm more of a creative, visual person instead of a technical person. I really try to avoid like coding and expressions. I mean, I know a few, but I'm more challenged and more intrigued by having to solve, okay, how can you fit that text in and make it look nice at the same time, instead of like, oh, this script is just exploding on me, how can I fix it? At the same time, the studio I'm working at is like a shared studio space. So I'm working with 4 guys, and each one has different expertises. So whenever I run into a dead end, I can ask them like, hey, so I really know that you don't have time, but hey, can you fix that for me? And I think it's also good to kind of let go of wanting to know or be able to fix everything by yourself. Like in my younger years, I was like that. I wanted to know everything, I wanted to be a coder, a designer, everything. But at one point, you just have to accept that it is okay to say, I don't know how to do this, and I know that this guy is way better than me in this particular area. And you just ask him, and then again, comes down to the community. If that's a person next to you, if it's a person on the other side of the world, and
Utilizing the whole team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Know where your strengths are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just developing like the creative eye and overseeing things and knowing what looks nice, but knowing also who to get on board to get there.
Yeah, that's massive. Yeah, it's important to stay humble, and even though you've been in it for a while, when you don't know something, you just say you don't know it, and you know who to ask. And I think that's most
tough
powerful,
to do. That's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to do, to admit that you don't know something.
Yeah, totally. That is.
But that's when growth happens. When you admit what you don't know, that's when you can grow. And I find that rewarding as well.
Awesome. So when you're solving those problems, you have tools. What are the tools you guys can't live without?
Should I start?
Yeah.
Certainly After Effects. After Effects in the combination of Photoshop and Illustrator, which is the obvious, I think. For over a decade now, also Cinema 4D, actually more than a decade, because it just complements After Effects so nicely, and these are the tools that are really, what makes me be able to pay my rent, feed the family, feed the kids, and
I would say the same thing, After Effects, because nowadays, I remember when I worked at Fox Sports, we did the boards and everything in After Effects. It wasn't Photoshop, because once you're finished compositing stuff from C4D and all that stuff, at that point, once it's approved, you just render it and bring the passes and all that stuff. So everything is done more in After Effects every day. Like, it seems like After Effects just becomes more massive, and things you can do in After Effects now is just unbelievable. So I would definitely say After Effects all the way.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think we all do kind of similar work. So I think the whole Adobe suite really, we start off in like Photoshop for concept work and style frames sometimes. But if obviously we have like a really tight deadline, we do After Effects, like all the work in After Effects and build it out there. We do a lot of like vector work in Illustrator for all the UI stuff, and then like all our CG, or most of our CG is done in Cinema. So yeah, they're nice programs. I mean, they're really easy to use generally, and like I feel they complement each other really well, which is the reason why we use them together so much. Of course. So, yeah.
Can I ask Nick something?
Hey, go ahead.
Are you guys using shape layers? Or you do everything in Illustrator? Like all the fancy little...
It depends. It depends. Sometimes we actually use, generally what we do is we create everything in Illustrator, and then we take all the assets that we animate and stick them into one layer in Illustrator. And so we separate the non-animated and the animated. And there's a plugin that we use quite often called Overlord, and that kicks everything, a lot of the assets that we use into After Effects as shape layers sometimes. It depends really. We'll build everything in Illustrator, and sometimes we just use masks, and masks will do the trick, and we just loop them all with the little expression. But we do use shape layers, but I would say we try to keep it in Illustrator usually, because we do normally on-set graphics, and on-set graphics have massive, really tight schedules usually, and if we go on-set, we have to change them in like 30 minutes, so we try to keep everything in one spot usually, but we love shape layers like when we can, so yeah.
I love shape layers too, it's great.
Okay.
On the topic of an individual feature in After Effects, we have a question from the live stream, and a reminder for everyone watching, you can ask questions in the live stream. So Franco asks, Master Properties was a game-changer feature this year. Are there any features you would like to see in a future version of After Effects? And since on one of my jobs on the team is to help corral those feature requests and make sure that they get seen by the rest of the team,
I would say, like, to echo the shape layers, I think adding more features to shape layers to where right now it's extruding from the center, maybe have some features to where it's extruding from, you can kind of extrude from different sides and just have more control for that area. That's what I would say. That's the only thing that came up to my mind. But the new things that are coming out are pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what we we've kind of moved, like we do like a lot of motion graphics, but we've also moved towards visual effects a lot as well. And I think we've been incorporating Nuke into the pipeline. So having After Effects being able to handle a 32-bit workflow and EXRs would be quite good. And I think
to improve that.
yeah. But I mean, we can do it. We can do it there. But I think out of generally it works for 99% of the stuff we use anyway. So.
For me, it's speed.
Speed, performance.
Speed's always good.
Performance. Yeah, it's like it can never be fast enough.
Yeah.
It's like After Effects can do so many things. It can do more than what you need on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And obviously, fixing things that are not working or perfecting things that are not that right there is just great. And also, I must say, for example, I forgot to mention that with the problem-solving question, it kind of dips into that topic as well. There's a lot of ranting. It's almost cool to rant about things, you know.
Yeah.
It's oh, the new Apple this and that is bad, the new Adobe this and that is everything is just I'm like, come on. I mean, I know developers and I know it's just people and I know everyone just tries to make the best product, so as we try to make the best beautiful image that we can.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when of course I have sometimes situations where things don't work because it's a bug or whatever in whatever software, and then I'm just okay, here's two things you can do. You can either just be angry and mad about it and yell it out into the internet about how bad this is, or you can try to find a workaround and to make it work. Because I'm just thinking, hey, the guys from, I don't know, Territory Studio, they made this crazy UI, so they use the same tools. So if they can make it work, I should be able to make it work. And that's kind of the motivation to problem solve and to problem solve on a bigger scale, not just an expression, but also how to avoid issues.
I think that's really important because it's nice that you say the guys at Territory, but I'm on Creative Cow and on the Adobe forums all the time, because if I have something that I don't know how to do, I try to figure it out, and I usually scroll to that little best answer question, or the guy who has the best solution, and you're just learning stuff all the time, and that's what we do every day is learning something new.
Exactly.
And I think if you're commenting on forums and if you're being negative, you just keep scrolling past those, and you just find that little gem in there.
Yeah.
That's the answer that's going to solve your problem, get you out of work.
Yep. Let's see, we had another couple of questions from the live stream. And this will tie into something else we were going to ask you. David wants to know what programs you'd recommend learning if you're just getting into motion graphics.
After Effects.
Easy, done. David, go learn After Effects.
It's I mean, especially since if you have After Effects, you also have C4D Lite, that is. But still, I mean, you have an unimaginable powerhouse of tools right there.
You can start, I guess, if you want to start at the very beginning, you can start with Photoshop and Illustrator, kind of understand how things work, because After Effects is really the combination of the two, and then 3D also. So probably Illustrator, Photoshop, and kind of move up to After Effects. I think it's just Photoshop and Illustrator with the timeline and some 3D, right?
Yeah.
However, one advice that I got when I was younger, but I didn't take so seriously was when I was young, I was all about tools. Oh, this new effect does this. Oh, this warps it. Oh, this makes it shiny. This makes it glow.
Right.
And I was okay, when I was studying, I was oh yeah, let's add effects and make this look cool. And didn't really realize that the whole conceptual and art background and knowledge is way more important, because the tool is going to change and everyone can learn a tool.
It's going to get easier, right?
Literally anyone can learn a tool. But to develop the eye, to be able to see what looks nice and what doesn't, that's way more important than knowing which button to click, because
I would also add to that too, when you learn stuff, don't just watch tutorials to watch them. Have some kind of purpose. Try to have some kind of goal. Hey, I'm going to create this. And as you're walking towards that goal, that's where you learn things, and they stick to you better than just watching tutorials. You know, we've all watched so many tutorials we can't recall anything. But when you do it with purpose, then it kind of sticks to your brain.
Yeah, I agree. I think building, having an idea for something you want to make,
right,
and then you use tutorials to figure it out along the way. it's more fulfilling as well, you know, instead of just like recreating something. So
And it carries over to the industry because that's how we approach stuff. We just like, we're going to go for this. We only know halfway. Let's figure out the rest.
That segues actually really nicely to a question from live stream. Zach wants to know if there are recommended websites you'd go to learn After Effects.
Ukramedia.com.
I'll go ahead and say it's awesome. I really enjoy your tutorials. I do watch them occasionally when you post them to Reddit.
Yeah.
So like, ooh.
Thanks, Tim, man. Appreciate it.
Sergei has a new one. That one's fun.
Thanks.
yeah, I learned off of Linda.
Linda.
I remember learning off of Linda in 2010, and that was, I think, learning, if you're going to learn, if you want to start from the very beginning, get a professional to show you, like in your tutorials, or like get a professional that knows like the basics and what to show you first, and kind of ease you into it, so you can have like a broad understanding. And I think Linda was really good with that for me.
Yeah.
And they could be helpful for other people as well.
So did you see my tutorials on Linda?
Do you have it on?
Well, actually, it was video to brain, and
Oh, right,
became
yeah.
Linda, and kind of like. So I did tutorials like many years ago, but I kind of occasionally do tutorials on my YouTube channel. But I wouldn't say I recommend mine, obviously. But
What is your YouTube channel?
it's just my name. It's just I have a project. It's I think YouTube/Hranitzky.
Cool.
And
I'll check it out.
yeah, some work and some tutorials, reviews and stuff. But obviously, I have to recommend Andrew's.
Andrew Kramer?
Andrew Kramer,
Yeah,
Video
yeah.
Cloud
Andrew
Pilot.
Kramer.
We've all been, yeah.
I mean, who didn't
It's-
learn from
yeah,
Andrew? You
yeah.
know,
Does
it's
that guy
like-
ever
cool, too.
age? Does he ever
Yeah,
age?
he's, I mean, just shout outs. I mean, he's just doing great stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a good way to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you, the best place to start is the stuff that excites you the most. Yeah, so if you like Andrew Kramer stuff is really cool, and it's really like exciting to make. So if you're excited to make it, it doesn't feel like work. So
And the good thing is his stuff looks good. I mean, he has a good eye for
totally, yeah.
for how to make things look nice, not just functional, but also make it look really sexy.
Yeah.
And then also Grace Kagorla for Cinema 4D stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if someone's
yeah,
for
he's
that.
great. Yeah, and
So
Nick's a really
Nick
nice
and
guy.
Nick and his
Yeah.
Yeah,
team,
he is.
they have really good stuff up there as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
For After Effects, all roads lead to Andrew Kramer. That's
Yeah, that's true.
So any other advice for people who are just trying to get into the industry?
Yeah, ask questions. Find the people who are willing to invest in you. Try to push yourself to work around people that inspire you, I think, and you'll learn a lot from them. I've had the chance to work with some great people in Los Angeles at Blur Studio, and then a lot of people in, obviously everyone at Territory inspires me with all the work that they do, and it kind of like feeds each other. So get in a, you know, at the minimum, get in a group of find a group of people that inspire you, and didn't try to throw work back and forth.
It's kind of like, I don't know if you played soccer. When you play soccer with somebody who's better than you, you automatically rise up to that
Yeah,
level.
man.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
It's
yeah.
unbelievable how
Yeah.
quickly that happens.
Yeah.
It's insane for sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. Yeah.
I would say personally, work harder on yourself than you do at your job. Like the job and everything, it's nice, but keep in mind your growth is important. I think freelancers do it really well because they always have real updated and everything like that. But once you get a job, you get very comfortable and you kind of tend to slow down. But as freelancers, they're always working their craft. They're always like pushing because they have to get the next gig. And I would say have that hunger. Like don't slow down. Just enjoy the journey and have that hunger.
I would say love what you do. It's true for many jobs, and I think if you love what you do and if you along the way figure out that you don't love it and you just want to be doing graphics for the fame, or certainly not for the money, but and you figure out that it's not really what your passion is, then you're probably not going to succeed, because you have to love this, otherwise you will go insane sitting in front of a screen for, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 12 hours.
Yeah.
And also be bold and don't be afraid to fail. And also just put your work out there. I think there are way more good designers out there that don't share their work. Because it's usually always more or less the same people who are sharing their work. And I think, and again, it comes back to community and everything. Like these days, it's so easy to get feedback. Honest feedback. I mean,
You want good feedback, not
Good feedback,
not
exactly,
negative.
yeah. Not like I don't like it because of whatever, but okay, yeah, maybe you add a light here, or add some blur or whatever,
Totally,
and then it looks nice, and then this is how you can improve.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the best thing to do is just to be comfortable with being vulnerable, because you have to open up your heart a lot. And there's, like you said, the reason why people don't share, because they want to kind of close in, but open up your heart, man. It's gonna get broken so many times, but you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
So we touched a little bit on tools and styles. I'm wondering if there's any skills or techniques or styles that you haven't been able to do or work with in your career yet that you just are really begging to start learning.
Good question.
That is a good question.
Well, one thing that it's kind of like in my bucket list of things I want to do creatively is to do another short film. I did one as my thesis project, animated short film with Pixar-like characters. I'm obviously not that good, but cartoonish characters.
Right.
And this is something I want to do at one point. Create something that has like a cartoony look, not realistic at all. Just have a nice, really sweet story that can be told in 3-5 minutes, with a nice look. That's maybe painterly or something. Haven't really done something like this properly, so. This would be my bucket list of creative design and animation.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I mean, it's funny you say that because I feel like you can kind of get lost in like your professional life for a while, and you spend a lot of time like trying to hone your craft, and you see how you're growing and how things are getting better and better. But it's always good, I think, to apply it to like personal work as well, because you don't have anyone like telling you that. You need to change this or need to change that, So it's a bit more of a like fulfilling kind of thing. Like I made this, like this is a representation of who I am and stuff. And I think getting to a place where you're good enough at the tools to like pull it off is really nice. And I'd say like making my own, personal film at some point would be like a really fulfilling kind of thing to do.
I'd say it's the same for me. I love storytelling. I feel like as generalists, we've all done pretty much everything. And for me, it was expressions. I always wanted to get into it, but I felt scared, so I went into that. But it's not really an art form. But I would say storytelling and like a film or something like that would be awesome.
Yeah. We've all got the stories inside our head that we just want to.
Yeah, we're all artists, and we all kind of we spend a lot of time in our head thinking about like animation and life and like the big questions. And when you kind of have a chance to apply all that to the art form that we've chosen, it's really like a gratifying feeling, and it's, especially like when we were learning all these programs at first and like creating little things, and it was very like a very exciting moment. So
your first animation, wow.
yeah, for sure. And,
I remember when my first 3D animation was rendered, and it was for my thesis, and it was a meat eating plant, and I made it jump in its little pot. And the leaves are wiggling, and I rendered it out, and I saw it for the first time. It was like, I can't believe it. It was like a birth of a child almost.
Yeah,
obviously not as cool, but still it was such a gratifying feeling to see something in front of you that before was just in your mind and on paper on a scribble, and then all of a sudden it lives.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
it's an addictive feeling.
That's a feeling. Yeah, it's a feeling.
All right. Awesome. Well, we are out of time, I'm afraid.
Awesome.
Yep. So I want to thank Robert, Sergei, Nick. Thank you very much for joining us here today at IBC 2018. And everyone out there, please stay tuned for more presentations, panels, and interviews. Thank you much.